So I'm hoping that the various groups that we've gathered together, was it 3 weeks ago we were over in your office, and we had all of the various major groups there, talking about the Chamber of Commerce, the manufacturers, even the truckers, saying that we need to have a robust, a multi-year highway bill. The National Transportation Service Commission also has indicated that. And I was just talking to folks from General Motors the other day, and they said it's really important to the automobile industry that we get this done. You talk to environmental groups; they're saying, a lot of the greenhouse emissions are coming from automobiles, and a lot of it's because people are stuck in traffic jams all over the United States. And so there's a lot of people that are coming together on a national basis to say to the administration that we need to do something. I talked with Ed Rendell. I think he's chairman of Build Up America. I think that's what the group is called, or something like that. And he's now chairman of the National Governors Association. And he said, we need the money now. And you're talking about, looking down the road about what the states, what they can count on. But what about the contractors? What about the suppliers and others that are allied with this industry today? Many of them are in limbo. And if they sense that this is not going to get done here fairly quickly, they're going to see a drop-off in spending. I like to refer to it as a balloon. And that is the safety loop puts some air in the balloon, and the fact is that since 2005, that air has lessened. Then we did the stimulus bill. We got more air in the balloon. But if we don't extend and have this multi-year, the air is going to go out of the balloon, and it's going to be a disaster, I think, for the construction industry. And here is an opportunity by reauthorizing this on a multi-year basis, a robust bill. It will send a signal out to a big segment of our economy and those that are allied with it that we're going someplace. You can put it in the bank. You know where you can do. I can go, if I'm a manufacturer, something with highways, and go to my bank and say, you know what, you tighten my credit on me and you're asking me for more, but by the way, this bill's passed, and everything being equal, I get a little piece of that work. So, give me a break, give me some money. So it'll have a wonderful impact, I think, right throughout the country.
Right on.
Darren. Any idea where the speaker is on this right now?
The speaker has said at her news conference last week that she supports the intention of the committee to move ahead with our authorization, that it should be done this year, and we have the support of the House leadership.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
We've got three things going on today: the Metro hearings, the investigation into the plane, the pole in the Southwest plane. I'm just curious, as the chairman of the Transportation Committee, what these events and these investigations say to you about the quality and the safety of our infrastructure for transportation?
You can't judge generally by one or two incidents. You can't say all of aviation safety is compromised because of one aircraft blowing a hole in the fuselage. You can't say that all of rail transportation is unsafe because of the failure of sensors. But you can look at trends. And the trend lines have been very disturbing. We held a hearing last year on the failures of the FAA rigorously to oversee maintenance of Southwest Airlines and of other carriers. It resulted in grounding nearly 1,000 airplanes, 1/5 of the entire fleet, to re-inspect and review the adequacy of maintenance and of the inspection of maintenance. And one of the incidents cited in that review was a hairline crack in the fuselage of a Southwest Airlines aircraft. And Mr. Kelleher, Herb Kelleher, former CEO, retired, but he's still emeritus, said, "Oh, Mr. Chairman, it was just a small crack." But I know from Aloha Airlines that small cracks propagate into major failures, and he quickly retracted his statement. We know that the situation of the Metro the flickering signal sensor in the track had been experienced by the Bay Area Rapid Transit program, and they addressed the issue. Is there a systemic problem? There is a failure of all systems to have adequate funds to invest in the maintenance of their systems. We propose in the life of this bill near doubling of investment in transit and increasing some flexibility for transit systems to use their capital asset account for maintenance. But there needs to be a much more robust investment in all of our transit systems so they can continually renew. And the same with our highway systems, and same with aviation. Safety in all modes of transportation is a culture. And the culture starts at the top, starts in the boardroom of the airlines, and starts in the decision-making centers of transit systems, in the state DOTs and the Federal Highway Administration and the U.S. DOT.
Can I just, very briefly, just 2 points on that. One would be we have 160,000 bridges on the federal highway system that are either functionally obsolete, and might say, well, that's not so bad. Well, it is, because it means they have a very high rate of accident, a lot of congestion, some deaths. And then about the other half of the 160,000 are actually structurally deficient. That means that about half of those bridges are load limited or going to be load limited, restricted in service, and we're not catching up. If we do status quo funding, we are not going to begin to meaningfully address that backlog. If we don't change the standards and mandate that the states meaningfully invest in that program, one state not very far from here diverted all its money from the bridge program into other projects because they could do that under existing law, and now they have the worst bridges in the system. We have new accountability in our bill to bring the existing system, the legacy system, up to safe and current standards for all people. And then on the transit side, and I just use one city as an example because I think it's fairly telling, the city of Chicago has a $6 billion backlog on deferred maintenance and investment in its transit system. They get about $320 million in the stimulus bill. They had the money committed, and we're already beginning to spend all $320 within 30 days. The need is so great, so well documented, and has been on the shelf for so long, they could just pull those projects off, blow the dust off, and put them out. So these monies are needed to bring our current system, our legacy system, up to a state of good repair. And then we need to move forward to a 21st century system, which is also incorporated in the bill.
I think the point that you make, Peter, in terms of shovel-ready projects in Chicago, that's why we worked very hard to try and increase the amount of money in the stimulus package, because these were shovel-ready projects that could go somewhere, and unfortunately a lot of it didn't go for that, and it was diverted to some things that aren't going to create the jobs that we think are needed today. And in terms of the time for something to get done, I think Ohio ranks second or third in the country in the number of bridges we have. We have a bridge called the Brent Spence Bridge. That's Interstate 75 going across the Ohio River between Kentucky and Ohio. They're talking about 10 years it's going to take to try and take care of that. It's the safety record there is 5 times worse than our safety record in the rest of the state. We just cannot, and congestion, oh my God, it's terrible. Yeah. And we have this all over the country, and this bill deals with projects like this that sets up a different way of doing a criteria. You've got a track, transportation reallocation. It's a planned thing. We're going to go after those things that are going to make the most difference in terms of moving people along, increasing safety, and helping the economy of our country.
And speed up the delivery of projects. Exactly. This is the next stimulus bill. Yes.
Well, given the unemployment rate right now and the availability of shovel-ready projects, wouldn't it be better to push a second stimulus to get that money out faster as opposed to a 5-year?
No, this is the next stimulus right here. The current stimulus is divided in theoretically in 2 parts. First part to go out 90 to 120 days, being obligated or under contract in 90 to 100 days. The second half of that funding is to be committed in the next 120 days. States have a great deal of flexibility. Many states are way ahead of the obligation and under contract of the requirements of the Act. In fact, as of the end of May, 5,499 projects were approved, actually through July 2nd. By the end of May, 4,100 projects were out to bid. 2,300 projects under contract were at $6.5 billion. And there are 1,243 projects at the end of May on which work is underway. People actually working, 21,000 construction workers. One of whom came running out to greet me in the 4th of July parade saying, I was unemployed and I'm back at work, I'm a construction worker. Didn't have anybody come out and say, thanks for my tax cut. No one noticed it. That was $300 billion. That went out real fast. It made not a dent in the 1.7 million construction workers out of work today. So wake up over there in the White House. This will put people to work. This will be the sustained funding that goes out according to formula, not according to hit or miss something over here or there. That's why we insisted in the surface transportation portion of our committee's responsibility and stimulus that go out according to formula, that the states sign off on a program of projects that they will fund with stimulus money, and the program of projects they will fund, continuing to fund under the 80-20, that there be equitable distribution, that there be a preferential consideration for areas of highest unemployment. And that's all being done. And it's being done with great speed. We'll have a hearing in another week on the progress under the stimulus, and we'll have some very good figures to show you. You'll have more than 50,000 construction jobs, and by September, that'll be close to 250,000.
I think the beauty of this also is that if you have another stimulus bill, you're going to have to borrow the money.
That's right.
This is going to be paid for. And if you look at the national statistics about issues with the American people today, number one, they're concerned about their job and their own economy. But the second thing on their list, it's hard for me to believe, is they're worried about their federal government and the fact that we're borrowing and we're spending and borrowing, and they know that sooner or later somebody's going to have to pay for it. They're probably going to pay for it, but they are really worried about their children and their grandchildren. Here's a situation where we're going to pay for this. You can say to the American people, we're not borrowing the money to do this. We're going to pay for it. And the other thing is to get the money to keep this thing going for 18 months, what you're going to have to do is rob Peter to pay Paul to take care of it at this inadequate level. At this inadequate level. Why in the devil would you want to do that? Here's an opportunity to come in, bring the money into the multi-year highway bill, and pay for it and get on with it. And I think the American people would say, you know what? We welcome that. At least we know where we are. We're going to get something and we're going to pay for it, but we're not going to borrow it in order to go forward with it.
Senator Voinovich made such a great point here, and I have to recall my predecessor, John Blatnik, also Slovene, who was a World War II veteran, parachuted behind Nazi lines in Slovenia with the OSS. He was one of those 5 co-authors of the Interstate Highway Program. And he said when it was finalized in June of '56, we all realized that we had created a funding mechanism to build highways that we might never drive on, but that the next generation would enjoy, that this generation would pay for, and the next generation would enjoy and benefit from. That's what we need to do now.
That's a good point, Jim.
You talked about paying for the bill. You say leadership is with you. Have you had any conversations with Ways and Means? They seem to indicate that that's not tops on their list of things to do.
quite the contrary. There will be a hearing next week in which Mr. DeFazio and I will testify, Mr. Micah as well, and we'll offer several suggestions, short-term, long-term, and ultimately they make the decision, but they are moving ahead. As a matter of fact, it'd be a lot easier to do the investment for the surface transportation program than for health care and a few of the other things that they're.
Yeah, they're talking about it. It's really interesting because we're going to have a hearing this afternoon, and Ray LaHood's going to be in, and he's going to be testifying on behalf of the climate change bill. And I'm not taking a shot at it, but all I'm saying is I know this. All of us are going to be paying more for our utilities under this bill, and that, in a way, is an increase. I mean, my people in my state think that's kind of like a tax increase. And he's saying, well, that's okay. That's okay. And you know, and I asked, well, what are we getting for it? Well, we're gonna reduce emissions. Here's a situation where we're gonna pay it. We're gonna let people know they're paying it, and we're gonna be able to show them what they're gonna get as a result of it passing. And last but not least, I'm hoping that Harry Reid, our majority leader, remembers what he has said this recently. He said, I learned 27 years ago when I came to the House that there are two ways to really stimulate the economy quickly. One is with home building, and the other is with highway spending, and that includes bridges, roads, and dams. So I'm hoping that the common sense of this kind of moves through the Senate as it has already in the House, and my fellow senators wake up to this wonderful opportunity that we have to create jobs and make a difference for America.